All right, so we are back once again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to It's Still Enjoying the month of June, exactly, and every single day that comes definitely offering us an opportunity to experience a different weather condition and, of course, experience obviously, smooth and, of course, a sweet, well-scented. Eastern breeze coming through. For some, while the weather is quite critical, but for others, well, it's a very, very good weather as well. Hopefully that, you're also taking time to, enjoy taking a lot of water. On top of that, also enjoy, drinking, taking a lot of tea, and bathing at the same time. Now, today we're going to be in touch with very special people. Exactly, very, very special people. These are entrepreneurs, serious entrepreneurs, as we keep on learning from what others are doing. Okay, so they represent obviously a brand called Housematic. Okay, now if you've been to Creso University, there are those new formats of student hostels that are being built. Okay, when the project started, it attracted a lot of attention from students, because they were being built not using blocks, cement, or anything, but there is a special material that is used in building those, and they're usually called prefabs. Now, today I'm going to be talking to people who are very, very good at coming up with that kind, trying to give us a different format in our housing units. My first guest on the show today is Dr. Moses Chalwe, who is the Managing Director Zambia for Housematic. He's going to tell us a little bit more about himself and, of course, how he found himself as part of this particular brand. Dr. Chalwe, thank you so much for coming today.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank
Pleasure
you.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so very much. Good to have you once again.
Thank you so much.
To start with, tell us a bit more about yourself.
You rightly put it, entrepreneur. Yeah, entrepreneur is the spirit behind every businessman who is looking at solving a problem. So that's what I am. That's the hat I'm wearing now. I'm wearing a hat of an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yes. I'm a development practitioner by profession,
okay,
and also a pastor, a man of God. But I also find a lot of joy in solving problems, human-based problems, which is why I accepted the challenge to be part of the solution givers for limited housing infrastructure in Zambia. And so I found myself with Housematic company.
How did you guys come up with this idea of providing this kind of accommodation to the Zambian people?
I had an opportunity to work with United Nations, and I was with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. I saw quite a number of interventions made because of the shortages of housing. I remember some time back, I was part of the team in Maheba that was distributing tents. Okay. Later on, I also had an opportunity to see prefabs being constructed in different parts of the world. Then I realized, I think this is the way to go. When I met the CEO from Spain, the man we are going to see later in the show, I later reconnected with my pastor and I said, wow, this is the way to go. So Housematic is an express housing solution company that is going to give us an opportunity to bridge the gap between the housing units in Zambia. It's not just housing, but anything that needs to be constructed. For example, like you rightly put it in your preamble, the hostels for students, offices, warehouses, name it, whatever it is that is to be constructed. Using this technology, it can be constructed. It's actually beyond the house. Yes.
When you were in your phase of career development,
yes,
did you see yourself doing this at some point, at some stage?
And to be honest, no. But what I knew is that I understood myself. I'm quite multifaceted. I'm broadly gifted. I just love challenge. In my career development, I saw myself as a manager of many faces. Yeah, I almost make it in every field I delve in. So one of the things that I love doing is to work with people, not only within Zambia but outside. So that part I saw it coming.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Career-wise, like you mentioned, you are a man of God.
Yes, sir.
That is a career on its own.
Yes,
and
it
a
is.
calling
It's
at
a
the same
serious
time.
one.
Exactly as you as you put it there. So now, how has your career as a man of God, a pastor, a bishop, really helped you in other areas of your work? For example, working with the UN, working for an organization that deals with refugees and so on and so forth.
Yes. I think it has helped me to integrate even more deeply, because a pastor works with people, and the motive for being a pastor, the main purpose, objective, is to help the humankind as you point them to the cross. So any other duty that you do just helps you to become a better pastor. For example, I love to help people with whatever I can do to help them. You are aware that I'm actually a professor in university, and not just one, maybe 3 we can name 4. What I do there is to help. Sometimes not exactly for money, but to help. I just love to nurture a generation with value, to give them the skills that I have, which other people have, so that we build a better Zambia, we build a better world together. It has helped me to help the young generation, to make them or help them become better and informed people. So as we do this work with UN and many other development organizations, I think I find it much more fulfilling, because my passions are met. I want to add a smile to someone's face. I want to make sure that people live better than they were before. Seeing somebody acquire value or become a better person is my passion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So while we can find that to do, and we do it perfectly, and it brings a few coins on the table, then we have killed 3, 4, 5 birds with only one stone. So that is the motivation. It's just to help people, and I just want to fulfill my agenda. God created me for a reason.
Interesting.
Yes.
You have had first-hand experience dealing with refugees, seeing how they live. For others, wow, this information just comes through the news.
Yes.
Exactly. Briefly, really, tell us how life is in a refugee camp.
The first time, my first encounter with the refugees, I shed my tears. It's a time when Zambia was receiving a serious influx of refugees from Congo DRC, South Sudan. I think we also had Ethiopia and Angola. I was among the people that were employed to help the refugees to integrate, to repatriate, and to just settle down in Zambia. And it was a very, very busy time for us. The UNHCR team, it was in Maheba. We would receive people. You could look at this particular person, and this person, they literally have given up. So the first thing is, which is why most of the people working for UN need to learn what are known as UN languages, because you cannot directly speak to them if you don't speak their language. But it's not just helping them, showing them a place, or maybe helping them down. First of all, a human being is body, soul, and spirit. That's what I learned earlier on. So you may want to help the physical part of a human being, and you neglect the two, then you've not done a lot of help. Which is why under UN there are people called people working for under UNHCR. There are people working under programs, and there are people working for protection. Those are the two main departments. You have to help someone. You counsel them. You help them to settle. And we would receive people with all physical conditions. Some of them had been raped. They need counseling. Some of them come sick. It's not easy to run away from a war zone. They come, others come injured and things like that. And above all, they are looking for shelter, which was our main aim. We needed to give them food. We needed to show them love. We needed to give them tents and then just help them settle down. It's a very, very challenging experience. Our friends running from war-torn countries need a lot of help, and I'm happy that we helped put smiles on the face of a few people that came in contact with us. Because I'm a teacher by profession and I set out on a career as a teacher in high school, it broke my heart to see children who had not been to school, you know, in these war-torn countries. Some of them are a little bit elderly and they've never been to school. So we helped them find meaning and quickly find themselves in school. Luckily, the UN system in Maeva is quite good. All the departments, the implementing partners are there. The Ministry of Health is very active, education is active, and many other organs. So we really enjoyed helping them and finding them a place and giving them what to do.
Was it during the same period when you met Mr. Toredo?
Mr. Jacinto, I met him after this experience. Actually, this experience exacerbated my passions to work with him.
Okay.
We started chatting deeply at another level after this experience I had.
Okay.
Remember, I had interaction with tents, because every family had to be given a tent. If they're more than 6, we give them 2 tents. Then I realized, okay, these are housing solutions given, which Housematic also stands for, because our motto is Express Housing Solutions. So it kind of married our passions. I said, okay, I think Housematic is doing this, which I also stand for. Maybe we can just work together. Later on, I gained interest in prefabs. You know that what's this? Siders? Yeah, Siders is doing a type of prefabricated constructions. Every hospital has, I think that's where they do counseling, voluntary counseling and testing. Yes, every clinic has that. Through one of my friends working for Siders, I had an opportunity to visit most of these places, and we started looking at them. I already heard about Housematic, so I had interest. I wanted to see, what are these prefabs, so how do they look like, what can you do with them? And then I discovered we have the whole world of differences about types of these prefabs. Later on, Mr. Jacinto and I began to talk deeply, and he shared the link to the website for the company. He sent a few YouTube videos for me, and I began to just read and get a lot of it. It was easy for me to understand because of my physics background. Yeah, so I understood from the technical point of view, in terms of strength, in terms of how good is it resisting the heat, what about sound, what about disturbances and whatnot. So I put not only my hand there, but both of my hands on Housematic. And I was ready to pave his way to come into Zambia.
Okay.
Yes.
From the look of things, you have been a jack of all trades for quite some time.
But don't complete that statement, because it finishes, but a master of none, right?
Oh my God!
I'm actually a master of something. Yes, I've been a jack of all trades.
Amazing, amazing. Wow, your experience is really, really amazing. Okay, so now, what attracted you to the idea of prefabs, and did you think they would work actually in Zambia?
Yes, I understand my country very well. Zambia is a beautiful country. I want to be very honest with you. In terms of business, Zambia is an excellent destination. Politically, we are very stable. Economically, we are thriving. I think to just prophesy a bit about Zambia in the next 10 years will be a big force to reckon with. That's what we see as entrepreneurs. What excited me so much to work with Housematic is that I looked at the housing gap. You'll be excited to know that we have a deficit of 1.5 million houses in Zambia by standards. And then I noticed this is not only an opportunity for Housematic, it's also an opportunity for Zambia to provide housing solutions for our people, which are faster and cheaper.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so to everybody watching, obviously, we thought of just showing you briefly how prefabs actually look like, prefabricated houses or units, if you want to call them like that.
Yes.
Okay, so that is just one type okay, obviously built elsewhere. These are very common, especially in the Western world. Exactly. I think our friends in the Western world have actually
They've been doing it for
shifted.
years.
Yes,
Yes.
have shifted. They are no longer into brick and mortar
Mortar.
kind of houses, but these are what they are trying to adapt to. Easier, such that Zambia, we've got a tradition of buying too many plots. So what you just do is ukafendeza sabi, you just carry it and take it
Yes.
elsewhere.
You can
if
take
at
it to
all.
Lundazi if you decide to shift camps.
My first experience my first experience seeing this was actually what I mentioned in my preamble at Creso, since I was a student there. So
Yes.
during my final year when I was graduating, that's when now they introduced this.
Right.
Exactly. So they'd even put up an upstairs one.
Mhm.
Exactly.
It's possible.
Others were on the lower
ground?
floor,
Yes.
and of course others upper.
Mm.
Exactly. So it was just an idea of prefab and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But now the debate was on what kind of material do these
Mm.
people use? How strong are these?
How strong are they?
With these different weather conditions that Zambia usually experiences when it's raining, we
Mm.
usually have erratic kind of rainfall system and all that. So there were all those questions,
Mhm.
but I didn't have anybody to ask. So now I have somebody to ask here.
Okay.
So now allow me to ask you the same questions.
Okay.
How strong are these prefabs?
Okay.
Really?
I would
For a
say
house
Okay.
where Nelson and his family can stay.
right. Prefabs are very, very strong material. I think I'll leave the details to the engineer because on our team we've got somebody who is very well vexed to answer such a question. Mr. Sakala will come and answer it. But let me just preempt. You are, like we saw in the picture, and the magazines, some of the things, I don't know if you are able to see this. This one here is an upstairs one. It
Mhm.
goes up to level 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So what happens is that this is done way before it's installed. Serious calculations, serious physics is applied here. Okay? So that everything is nicely done with precision, no errors. This thing can go up to 4, 5 levels. But since in Zambia we've got very big land, we are not in a hurry to build up. We're in a hurry to build all over because most of the place is still there. So they are very strong. They are very, very strong, and we have nothing to compromise about.
Okay.
I'm also aware that some of the people are building prefabs. They're using prefab houses and buildings in a compromised way because they're in a hurry to collect that check. This, like I said in the preamble, originated from Spain. And you want to know that Spain is a big force in the fabricated construction. Nothing compromised. Nothing compromised. They are very, very strong and they are very, very good. The beauty, like you earlier said, you can actually move it. If I wish to go back to Samfia, which is my village, I would take it when I retire. Just put it together, assemble it, then people can go and build it up and I have my house again.
Wow. Oh, okay, that's a very good idea. It's a very, very good idea. Quite an attractive idea.
Yes, it is.
Exactly. Especially for a younger generation like us who would want to venture into agriculture. So meaning
Yes.
I just need to carry it and put it on my farm and life goes on.
Right.
I love that kind of an idea. One of the pics that I was just looking at is of a compound. I've forgotten where that compound is, but it's a compound constructed with prefabs. That one there.
That one.
Something like that.
Mhm.
So now, how is the lifespan of such a compound?
Prefab, most of the prefabs, like our type, they
Mhm.
can actually last for up to 75 years.
75 years.
Yes. I don't know how old you are now. But
No,
I'm sure grandchildren can come and use it.
My father's not yet 75.
Yes, so you can see what it is. It's almost a permanent structure.
Okay.
They are actually there to stay. And technology is improving every day.
Mhm.
Okay. So what was calculated before gave us 75% of existence, meaning every day technology is changing. It could just go up to 100 or maybe 99.
Okay.
which is up to the land lease tenure for Zambian
Mhm.
government. Yeah. Things
I know
like
that
that.
Mr. Tetorego will definitely explain a little bit more further on
Yes, he
how
will.
prefabs have cushioned the housing
Deficit
deficit
in
in
Europe.
other countries, Europe to be
Yes.
specific as well. Because
Mm.
one of the biggest challenge that Zambia has at the moment
Mm.
is shelter. Shelter has always been a huge challenge in
Challenge.
Zambia. Exactly.
Mm.
People have taken a step to buy plots, but again, just putting up a structure.
It takes years.
It's
I mean, we've all been there.
another huge challenge.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just putting up. So how do you think this new technology coming in will definitely help cushion that gap?
It's, to me, as a Zambian, because Zambia, is a Christian nation, it's a prayer answered. And I'm sure when our leaders get to buy into this idea, it will certainly help them also fulfill their campaign promises. Nobody wants to just live anyhow. You want to live in a decent house, okay? So this is really helping us. May I also be quick to mention that Zimbabwe, the United Nations in Zimbabwe, has actually allowed us to construct. So as we speak, there's serious construction happening in Zimbabwe, not only in one area, in several areas, together with the tornado
Mm-hmm.
in Mozambique.
In Mozambique.
There's a lot of construction happening by Housematic. So we are only hopeful that both the private and the government sector in Zambia can actually come throw their weight on it. They are quite strong. If UN can say yes, I mean, it means it's been tested, right? That's what it is. So I think we have a lot of, like we are showing, we have a lot of United Nations agencies that are using us. Okay, so these are some of the United Nations agencies. I've got UNPFPA, UNHCR, UNDP, UNICEF, UNOPS, and the Red Cross. So if these guys can buy into this idea, I want you to know that it's tough tested. We are not in a hurry to just do things compromising our standards, no, because we're looking at long-term agreements. And we don't want to just add our name to the list of people that are doing prefabs just for gain. No, we are doing this sustainably. We've got a future to take care of, and we want government and people to come back and say, hey, you did a few here, come and complete with more here. That's what it means. It's a third generation company, and Housematic is a way to go. If you ask me as MD for Zambia, I will tell you that my prayer is to make Housematic an household name. We want everyone to shout Housematic. I know Easterners, if a new child is born, they like to give names. I just want to hear somebody called the Housematic Longo, Housematic Gondwe, because then we know that it has been appreciated.
Please never adopt that name. It's a brand.
So
You'll be taken
there
to
in
court.
Patauke, I can rest assure you. That's how we know if something is genuine. We had Celtel Piri,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, MTN Sakala, those are some of the names. Zuru Telecoms, then we know this product is good and genuine. Yes, so we are looking forward to our smart Gondwe.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that is Dr. Chalo coming through. So how about we get the story from, obviously, somebody who decided to initiate the idea to Zambia.
Yes.
Exactly, trying to take away the hard job of constructing a house from the foundation level to the roofing level. These guys are saying it's too expensive, guys, going that way. We've been doing it for the last, I don't know how many years.
400
But
years.
how about we try something different? Perhaps we'll have at least people as young as 20 who are idealistic, innovative, coming up with that. So
Your number one agricultural show that explores various forms of agricultural practices in Zambia. Join us as we take you on an experience of a lifetime. It's an experience you will never regret. Ulimi on your screens every Mondays at 17:30 hours only on QTV. Experience home.
all right, so you're still watching In Touch, and of course, we are still in touch with Housematic people, exactly, and still learning how far we can, adapt and of course accommodate technology. Okay, so earlier I was talking to Dr. Shalom, who came through giving us a preamble of how he found himself in this, and of course just how he bought into the idea of prefabricated units, housing units to be specific, as well. Now, obviously, I would love to talk to the man behind the idea, who thought the idea could actually work in Zambia, and the engineer, so that we get to know more, because most of the questions that usually come in tend to look at what kind of materials are used for prefabs, how strong are they, and of course lifespan, and just what it takes to put one unit at your plot, just like that. All right, so joining me are two gentlemen from Housematic who are going to help us really take a look at all that as well. So Mr. Jacinto is in the studio with me finally from Spain, and I also have Mr. Somebody told me to call him Mr. Housematic Sakala, so I'm tempted to call him that. Exactly. So Mr. Housematic Sakala is definitely in the studio with me. I'm sorry, I had to buy in the idea of the man from Sanfia. Exactly. I think it suits you so well. It does. In fact, it's written there. Housematic Sakala, somewhere there.
Yeah, well, he said all these things, but he didn't say that these houses can actually be taken to Mwansabombwe.
Where they are missing out is
actually Katebe Housematic. So, but that's fine. I will accept that for now.
Thank you so much for coming through on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Jacinto, how are you?
How are you?
Welcome to Zambia.
Thank you very much for having me
Thank
here.
you so much. How is Zambia treating you, by the way?
Zambia is a great country. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
From the first moment we arrived in the country, we really enjoy
Okay.
its people
Uh-huh.
and the country, everything. Eh?
Oh,
Beautiful
fantastic.
country. Eh? We know a lot of countries in Africa, but Zambia is different. Believe me. Eh?
Uh-huh.
Here, people are friendly from the first moment you arrive. They welcome you completely friendly, and we are very happy here. Eh?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. Eh?
Thank you so very much.
It's unbelievable.
Spain is a very attractive country. Very, very beautiful.
Thank
I
you.
love the green, the water. Wow, you guys
Not
are
so
amazing.
green now with the climate change. And we're still
Oh, the
fighting with
climate
this.
change.
We
Exactly.
try.
Football, you are good. Yeah,
Mm.
you're very, very good. What prompted you to think about Zambia when you were thinking about, housing units, prefabs, and this new idea? What made you think of Zambia first?
Okay, good question, because the thing is that we are very active with the company in, fortunately, many countries of Africa.
Mm.
Of course, not all of them, 54, I think, countries in the whole continent. But to be honest, in Zambia we have no activity at the moment, for the moment. But nowadays we are very lucky because technologies helps a lot, and thanks to the social media, and I think it was through LinkedIn. I had the luck to meet Dr. Chalwe, the man who is nowadays our right-hand man in Zambia. He's currently the managing director of Housematic in Zambia, and it's curious because we have activity with Housematic through the United Nations in Zimbabwe, in Tanzania, in Congo, so Uganda, Kenya also, so neighboring countries, but not in Zambia. And this is why we are here nowadays, not through United Nations. That's our client in the neighboring countries. But if we are here now and we are trying to set up the company and set up our modular constructions, is because of this man, Dr. Chalwe.
Okay. How is the idea of prefabs working in Spain?
You mean how is the market in Spain?
How exactly? How are people adapting to different housing units that you're providing in Spain?
In Spain, we are very traditional with the real estate market.
Mhm.
It's very, very. You have to know. Of course, every country has its known identity,
Mhm.
and in Spain, we normally we like more brick, traditional concrete construction. But nowadays, more and more, the prefab industry is getting more and more positioned in the real estate market, because everybody can see, it's very easy to see the advantage you have in terms of production, the time in construction. Of course, cost is much lower cost. So people are, nowadays they are very smart, and they have a lot of information on the internet. And in what in the old times was a tradition, brick, concrete, 2 years period for construction your house, because normally it takes no less than 20 months, what means normally 2 years. You can do it nowadays with our technology in 4 or 5 months, and cheaper, and with the standard of quality very similar, sometimes even better, because we control all the quality prior. That's the word, prefabricated. So what means this? You prefab in the factory, and in the factory you have no rains, no sun, no weather problems. You are always working, controlling everything. So at the end of the day, you have the product completely controlled, and much cheaper. So people is not silly, and they say, okay, let's go to the prefab industry. And that's the reason, because not only in Spain but also in Europe, and of course in Africa, and they are starting to, not now, from time ago, they are starting to see the great advantage of the prefab construction industry.
Okay, interesting. Let me get to Mr. Sakala as well. Exactly. What do you think are some of the advantages of perhaps adapting to the new system of housing units that is coming in form of prefabs?
I think the first thing that people worry about is this safe?
Mhm.
You know, won't it fall on me tomorrow? You know, maybe when the wind comes, won't I lose my children or my family and things like that? But that will not have to be something to worry about, because they are quite strong, very strong. There's also the issue of versatility.
Mhm.
You know, Dr. Chalwe may have explained to you that you can build this tomorrow if you feel like, I don't think this area is very safe for me, or I need to migrate. You can take your units, put them together, transport them to another area, set them up, and they're just as strong. The speed with which you do this is also something to talk about. It takes a long time to do brick and mortar. I've been doing that for over 30 years. You know, and I know the type of time, the sort of time that you take to be able to put up a building. These ones are quick. Most of the work is done in the factory, like Mr. Torrego has said. That's where most of the work is done. On site, you have a good team there, you set it up in no time. If you give us a site today and say, look, we want you to build 100 houses, most of the time it takes is to be able to manufacture the modular sections. Once those are done, it doesn't take much time to put them up. So within a short time, you have so many houses done. So the speed, the versatility, and also they're safe. They're quite safe, and they last. If you go for cheaper stuff, yes, of course it doesn't. If you look around, you may see some stuff which is not that durable. Yeah, those are the ones you see, maybe it cracks, or the paint fades and things like that, because they're of a cheaper type. We don't want to do things like that. We want to be here and stay here, okay? So that people can always come to us and say, look, we need this done, we need that done. And one thing which is very frustrating, like I said earlier, is that people don't want to do something. They start something, and it goes on and on, it goes on and on. The kwacha maybe falls, and they're worried. Will I be able to finish this? Will I be able to import these materials with the kwacha which has fallen? And things like that. These ones, no. Once the price is agreed, this is what we need to do. You can go away and come back on the day to collect the keys. It's done.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Do you think Zambians will buy into the idea?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's the way to go.
What makes the idea very attractive, such that our generation that is now looking at constructing houses, we should not think about how many bags of cement do I need, how many blocks do I need, but I should be thinking of my plot is 40 by 40. How many housing units am I going to put, and all that? Why should we start thinking of that idea?
Well, like you rightly said, now you don't have to your budgeting will be there. We have a lot of variations in the normal construction. Today, this is costing 20 kwacha. Tomorrow, because we're importing it, the price changes. You have to look for more money to be able to buy that. In this sort of thing, once the price is agreed, this is how much you pay for this to be able to manufacture. The rest you pay us after whatever. It's a fixed thing, and it's done. It's a fixed price which you do. Forget about the external work issues, but for the sort of unit which you want, it's a fixed price. Once you have agreed that price, you are assured it will come and it will be done. So for the price, people are happy because they don't have to go looking for extra money. Okay, it's strong, it's versatile. Okay, and it will stand the test of time. So people are happy with things like that. And also, whatever, it's also flexible in the sense that if someone says, I want a low cost, 10 low cost houses, like this, like that, I want 3 high cost, medium cost.
When you're, sorry to cut you short, really. When you're giving those descriptions, what are you looking at? If Mr. Torego, you want to come in and also give us at least a further explanation in terms of low cost and high cost in Spain, what it means, you can as well do that. Just help me and the general public understand when I say, okay, my budget is not big, so can you put 5 prefabs here, low cost prefabs? What are we looking at?
Okay, if you allow me, I can answer.
Yes.
Because when Mr. Sakala said low cost, medium cost, or high cost, he means that we have different standards of qualities. Always the client tell us which is his level of quality he requires, and then we make the project and the technical and financial proposal adapted and tailor-made to his necessities. So we can use we can change the thickness of the panel sandwich, for example. What means the insulation will be different if we put a 40 millimeter, or we can put 60 millimeters up to 100, 110. So if you put a thicker panel sandwich, of course the house will be much more insulated, but will be more expensive. That's what makes difference in the price. Also, if you put air conditioning, you can put without air conditioning, with air conditioning, depending on the climate, depending on the country. Zambia has a fantastic weather, but we are setting up camps in very hot climates in the equator, in Congo, for example, in South Sudan, Juba, but it's completely necessary, the air conditioning. So that makes the construction a little bit more expensive because it's absolutely necessary to install air conditioning. Also, you can, depends on the number of bedrooms. So what we mean is that we need to receive feedback from the client. So what do you need? Tell us what's your program of necessities, your needs, and then we make the proposal for you. And then the price can be low, medium, or high. But it's not for what we say, is what for the client says.
All right.
I think that's the reason, because the prices are different.
That's what I actually needed. So now, I know this is not your first time you're coming to Africa. You've been in several other African countries trying to introduce this project under the UN, and of course as an individual house company as well. How is Africa responding to the new idea of the housing units?
Unbelievable. Only as Mr. Charles said in the previous interview, only in Zambia you have a deficit of around 1.5 million houses. But can you imagine in the whole Africa, how many thousands of houses the African continent needs. So it's not affordable to assist this demand with bricks, concrete, traditional construction, because it takes too long. Like Mr. Sakala said, you never control the cost. What in the beginning you think is going to cost you 1,000, at the end it costs you 3,000, because all the time during the 2 years that takes the process of construction, everything increases, the price of the concrete, everything, and delays. With the prefab industry, everything is controlled from the beginning, from the factory. If we say it will cost you 10, it will cost you 10, not even 11, 10. So this is like, at least in our company, I don't know other companies, maybe they tell you it costs you 10, and then they start to try to get more money. I don't know. I don't want to give my opinion, but we are very serious in that way. And when we pass the budget and we offer our offers, is the definitive, and then that's, of course, we have a term of expiration, maybe normally 3 months, because raw materials always can change the price. But if the budget is close, and you control the cost. So the acceptation, answering to your question of in Africa of the prefab industry is fantastic.
Okay.
Not only in the United Nations and Red Cross market, that of course is the product for them, because they are always with emergency situation, refugees, and it's impossible to think in another product. They need this product, but also in the private and government market. So that's where we are focused.
Okay. All right, so that's Mr. Teredo, and of course Mr. Sakala as well, and that is the new idea that they are arguably saying Zambia should try to buy in. Instead of you thinking about the traditional way of putting up a house, try to think about a conventional way, a technological way of putting up a house. And one of the biggest advantages that I've seen, aside from it being a little cheaper than how much you're going to spend on a regular home, is that these prefabs are not stationed; they can be moved actually. So if you put up one in Lusaka, and time comes for you to go back to Samfia, you can carry your prefab and you take it to Samfia, and they'll still go and put up the same house that you had in Lusaka. They'll put it in Samfia. So at least even the level of witchcraft in Samfia will definitely go down, because now there'll be no jealousy. People will be, people will have their own design. So yeah, I think that's a very good idea. Let's now come to the material. Exactly. Sorry to ask that, but what kind of materials are usually used when you're constructing a prefab?
So we have different kind of materials, because in fact we have 3 different areas of business in our same company, in the factory. The main product is the panel sandwich, made with polyurethane inside polyurethane or rock wool. So with this panel sandwich we made the flat pack solutions, and this is what we can put in horizontal or vertically position, and you play with this like a Lego. We can rise up to four stories, and this is made with panel sandwich, number 1. Number 2, and this is very active product, especially for NGOs and United Nations, because of the time. We completely transform the shipping containers. So we buy the 20 feet and 40 feet shipping containers, and we make inside, you won't believe, it's unbelievable what can we do inside of one container. Of course we open windows, doors, put air conditioning inside, we completely put panel sandwich, new floor, new ceiling, lights, of course, toilet. So in very short term, maybe in 1 month or even less, from the shipping containers we take, normally we buy it new, but sometimes the client says, okay, recycle, we buy it used and we paint it. But normally we like to do it with the new containers, and we can transform in houses, offices, of course, clinics, even clinics for United Nations we have done, schools, and also we can put together different containers. So that's number two. And number three, we have also developed a new product with concrete, autoclave concrete, and we are building houses made of autoclave concrete board, and this is the only thing the client has to do is the concrete slab, and then we come with this with the containers with the panels made of concrete autoclave, and this is what we call affordable houses. So that's the materials.
Okay, interesting. Mr. Sakala, so now how is the durability of these houses that are put up?
They're very durable. If you imagine where they came from, obviously they also want to live longer. They don't, and those are the areas where they have all these tornadoes and earthquakes and things like that. They still survive. Obviously, we expect our area, which doesn't have those, disasters, to also, stay the test of time. So they are quite durable, very, very durable. Dr. Chadwe must have told you that they actually last long, 50 to 75 years. You still have it. When you are shifting them, you shift them, you move them well, as long as you don't chip them off and, throw them away and, throw them about. You pack them nicely, you unpack them where you are going and put them back, construct them back. They are very durable. There will be no difference between the time that you put them where you were and the way you have shifted them, and they last. People like myself, if you look at me, I build one today, nice one, and it will outlive my life. My children will come there and they will still use it, and probably their grandchildren as well. They live very, very long. They are actually very durable.
Okay.
So we don't have to worry about the issues of durability.
Okay.
They are durable, very durable,
Okay.
because as I said, the life standards out there are quite high, and they also want to live. Why would they build something that's going to collapse on them? No, they build something which is solid and which lasts.
Okay. As we conclude, we don't just put up houses really for the sake of shielding us from rains, but we also want a house that will be very comfortable under such extreme weather.
True.
How is the level? How is it when it comes to temperature heat regulation for these prefabs? Maybe I'll start with Mr. Torrego, since we have plenty of them in Spain, and Spain is one country that has got that variation of weather. So how are they when it's cold and when it's hot?
Okay, that's why I was telling you before. That's why for the panel sandwich is made of, because the panel sandwich is inside made of polyurethane or rock wool. Both of them are good materials for insulation, not only thermal but also insulation, sound insulation. So depending on the standard panel sandwich, which work very properly, is 40 millimeters. So 4 centimeters. That works okay. But if the country, the final destination is very extreme conditions, climate conditions, normally we recommend to raise the panel sandwich up to 60, 75 thickness millimeters in terms of getting more insulation. And finally, you get inside. Of course, if you add air conditioners, the comfort inside will be absolute.
Okay.
But what gives the house and the construction the good temperature is the thickness of the panel sandwich.
Okay. Well, I get that. All right. So finally, Mr. Sakala, why should Zambians buy into this idea?
I think it's a very good idea because it encompasses all areas. You can have a house which, like we said, low cost, which the people that don't earn that much money can have. You have a house for those that are, young men. They're getting to, they're starting their work, their jobs. They've just finished college and whatever. They can still have a good house for the medium cost, for example. You can also have a house for somebody who wants a really good house, very nice, air conditioning and whatnot, which we may call high cost, bigger, and so on. And takes care of all the stages. Right now, it's very difficult for somebody who has a little income to be able to own a house. It's very, very difficult. That's number one. Number two, you also can build virtually anything under construction. You can build a church. I know people are worried like, oh, is this only for houses? No, it is not. You can build churches. We built, in Colombia, we're doing a university. Yes, we're doing a university in Colombia, and you can go up to 4-story. The only reason why we only end on 4-story is, look, we want to make this as affordable as possible, and we use, as you go up, you also use what we call lightweight steel. So as you go up, of course, it becomes a little bit more expensive because we're now using steel in there as opposed to just the panels. You know what I mean? To be able to reinforce this as it goes up. So you can do those. You can do warehouses. You can do all the labs. You can do any form of construction that you really need, and also the quick disaster sort of constructions. You can also do those. So anything, I mean, everybody will be catered for, clinics, hospitals, you name it. What is done in brick and mortar, we also do in these modular sections, except that we would like to restrict this to 4-story, and we have plenty of land. Why are we going to have 20-story and 4-story if you have so much land? All you do is stretch along there. 4-story is a lot, and you go on another 4-story is fine. If not, just do single-story. So many of those, and they are, like I said, they're quick. Every stage of earning can afford one. That's why it's so good for Zambia.
Okay, interesting. Wow. Mr. Terego, thank you so much for bringing this idea to Zambia.
Thank you.
And
for having me here.
hopefully we wish you a very long life so that at least we have more Zambians owning at least a house.
We hope so.
Exactly.
That's why we are here.
Definitely, trust me. And Mr. Sakala, thank you so much for the education, for the sensitization, and for the awareness as well.
Thank you.
And keep on, so that at least we have a lot of people in Zambia who own plots, but it's just bare land. Because they're still making plans on how now they need to start making blocks from one. Up until I don't know whether it's 10,000 needed for a 2-bedroom house, I don't know. So I hope that it doesn't end here.
Thank you very much, and we're also happy. And I'm sure in the future we're going to have Osmatic Kateve, and in Osmatic Buaria. I'm sure this will be a brand in these areas. So we're happy to be
Solutions channel.
Solutions channel.
So Mr. Terego, for how long are you still in Zambia?
Only 1 week.
Only 1
I
week.
will be leaving next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
I came from Sunday to Sunday 1 week.
Okay. All right.
But
Hopefully
very
that-
busy, eh? Non-stop, eh?
I hope you'll be coming more.
Believe me, my 2 people here
Uh-huh.
are killing me, eh?
Okay.
We never
I
stop
hope
working.
you're gonna be visiting us more often as well.
Yeah, we will be back soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so very much. We're so
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, today we've been in touch with Housematic Housing Solutions, exactly. Experts in fabricated units, exactly. It's an idea that I have already bought into, and I hope that you can as well buy into that idea. If you've never seen one, you can just move about. I think you see an example of this. For many of us, we just used to think these are temporary shelters for refugees, as governments are finding permanent solutions for them. But today, what we are saying is that they are actually permanent houses for you as well. So you do not have to now stick to the traditional way of building a house. Start thinking an innovation that is coming up. I love the idea. Thank you so much for your time. Definitely, we'll keep you on updating you as we go on and on and on. Wishing Mr. Terego a safe trip as he goes back home in Spain, but hopefully that we'll be able to see him soon as he comes back to Zambia as well. Thank you so much for your time. Until then, it's bye-bye and